In the last part, we saw that peace had finally returned to Chu Xiao's life. There was no longer any bloodshed, cruel deaths, and incessant screaming and plotting against other parties. Her heart started to enter a state of calm, like the water on the surface of a lake. 2 years passed, and she rarely kept up to date about the situation in the outside world. However, as she managed the inn, many passers-by often shared the information with her, and the children who were also particularly interested. For example, she was informed about UNU and Princess Nalan's marriage. From what she heard, when UNU got back to the Wu Empire, he readily accepted the offer as the Wu officials clapped in celebration. UNU dropped another bombshell that he already had a legitimate wife back in Qinghai, claiming that he did not want to abandon her as she had stood by him. He declared that Princess Nalan could only be his concubine if they were to marry. Even if she were to give birth, she could only be his second wife. The envoy of Song was greatly angered by this. This issue, which had been predicted to stir up a big hoo-ha in West Ming, was effortlessly diffused by UNU's casual attitude towards this matter. There were no other consequences as the matter slowly became forgotten. Thereafter, with the backing of Chief Marshal Yuan, the seventh Prince Yuan Che returned to the capital from the northern borders with more than 500,000 elite troops. They had crushed the rebellion and liberated large swaths of territories in the borders. As they supported each other, they shattered Yuan Yan's monopoly of power in the political sense of Wu. Yanbei was no longer as well off as before. The Liang Empire shut off the waterways along the southern borders while economic relationships with Song were cut off. Faced with a two-pronged assault by the Wu and Qinghai, Yanbei temporarily lost the ability to wage another war with Liang. Luckily for Yanbei, Yuan was embroiled in a struggle for power with Yuan Che, causing his attention to be diverted away from reinforcing Yamin Pass. Additionally, over the past 1.5 years, only one large-scale attack threatened to break out, which occurred at Long In Pass. However, the battle did not even take place. The troops stood up against each other there for 2 days before retreating back to their respective locations. The situation was unpredictable, with many plot twists along the way. Eventually, Yuan understood that UNU's Qinghai army would have massacred their way into the capital of Wu, if not for the presence of Yanbei. Then, his southwestern army would not have been a match for Yuan Che and UNU. Hence, indirectly, he stood on the same side as Yanshon. The unpredictability of this world was simply amazing. However, the news that garnered the most positive responses from the travelers was the news of Yanshun's extravagant wedding. A year ago, during the period of the New Year, Yanshun hosted a largely publicized series of wedding banquets outside of Shofang Palace, taking 18 of his official daughters in as his concubines. He housed them in his harem that was built behind Shofang Palace. The banquets lasted for a total of 18 days as the civilians of Yanbei gathered at Shofang Palace to pay their respects. It was a spectacular sight. On the second day of the banquets, the construction of Nada Palace atop the Lori Mountains was finished. People who were lucky enough to see the palace in the Yanbei repeatedly described the miraculous sight that they had witnessed. It was rumored that Nada Palace was built in mid-air, embedded into a cliff. Additionally, there were also golden statues and silver walls, which glowed as bright as the sun. It was almost a magical marvel. Even Liang's Jiu Palace, which dated back thousands of years, could not compare to it. Everyone knew that this palace was built by the king of Yanbei for his lover, the general of Xiuli. However, since their high-profile fallout at Huilei Plain 2 years ago, this woman that had been born as a slave that had sparked conflicts between the kings of Yanbei, Liang, and the chief marshal of Wu completely disappeared from the political scene of Westman, never to be heard of again. Some said that she had married into the royal family of Liang, changing her surname to remain by the emperor's side. Others had said that she was the wife of Yuan Yu, staying on the Qinghai to lead the troops there. Also, people had claimed that she had returned to Yanbei, taking Nada Palace as her home. Thank you so much for staying with me this long. Stay with me. Feel free to comment, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to like the video. Thank you very much.